Good evening, our viewers from around Zambia and around the world. I'm Mwelwa Tanisha, and this evening we have a special interview with Dr. Tommie Hamaluba, and my co-host today is Joanne Mubiana. So hope you are going to enjoy this. Our topic is primarily about education in the new dawn, and we're hoping that we can delve into this topic and be enlightened at the end. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Tommie Hamaluba and Joanne Mubiana. Dr. Tommie.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mwelwa, for coming me to the program.
Okay, sure thing. And Joanne Mubiana.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Tommie, for gracing us with your presence. Hi, Mwelwa. I hope you're having a lovely evening.
Thanks. Same to you. So our analyst tonight is Dr. Tommie Hamaluba. He's a specialist in open schooling and works for Botswana Open University, which is one of the public universities in Gaborone. He has 29 years of service spanning both in Zambia and in Botswana. And before moving to university, he was a secondary school teacher. He holds a Doctor of Philosophy, a Master of Business Administration, a Bachelor of Business Administration, a Diploma in Education, a postgraduate diploma in Quality Assurance in Education, a certificate in Distance Education Practitioners, and several other certificates in integration of ICTs into teaching and learning. And that's why I think he's the perfect person to speak to us about education as we begin this year's academic year. We've already heard that schools open on the 24th of January, which I think is a bit of a pushback because of the corona and everything. But we have a new setup altogether this year. We've seen recently in the press our DEBs, especially in the Lusaka district, has now brought an end to buying of uniforms within the school because they were exploiting our parents and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of changes going on. And for the first time, I think parents are not going to be paying any school fees. So, Doctor, I just wanted to find out what's your take on the economic situation that the new dawn has found, especially in light of the fact that they are saying now that everyone is going to not pay for their education, especially in our government schools.
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. First of all, I would like to really commend the UDON government. They found empty coffers. They found a country that is debt burdened by over 12.8 million United States dollars as a debt, a burden for the country. So they went ahead to negotiate with the IMF and got a 1.4 billion bailout. Of course, in return for bold reforms. You know, I would like our viewers to underline the word bold, drastic reforms. Now, after going through these bold decisions, then young Zambians will soon start to feel to take their place in such a formidable, economically recovered country. So things don't get easier, even in our own families. When you are passing through some reforms, things don't get easier, but you get tough. You have to get stronger. So, and when you come to the domestic areas, this country has found, we are talking of amounts to about 46.9 billion is at the end of June 2021. Is, you know, local debt, the stock of audited central government domestic arrears. These are arrears on the domestic market. Pending bills excluding fuel and electricity, you're talking of 46.9 billion kwacha. First, it started at 26, but now it has gone to as much as 46.9 billion. So that's the situation that this new government found itself in, and how it is trying to come out of that.
Okay, thank you for that. I think the other thing that we've equally seen is that there's some media, reporting that organizations are complaining about the delayed recruitment of teachers. Now, I'm looking at it and thinking, well, delayed because obviously where is the money coming from? At the moment, everything is still being put in place. But what's your comment on that? Is there a delay? Because I think there will be a bit of a deficit when I look at maybe numbers of parents sending in children into school. And there's so many people who are equally going to remove their children from private schools, favoring the free education in government schools. So what's your comment on that? Are schools ready without the new teachers?
Thank you very much. This message should go very, very, very clear, and everybody should help to explain this message to Zambians. I have also seen in some media some organizations complaining about the delayed recruitment of teachers. These cries are founded. Like I stated in the preamble, the government is coming from a dark base. Now, they have committed to recruit 30,000 teachers. And this process is underway. I have followed the government. They are saying this process is underway. Now, it's not overnight. You need to build systems. We are coming from a country that was governed without systems. So there's no delay because we are talking of 120 days. And the Teaching Service Commission has to settle down. After the Teaching Service Commission has settled down, then because New Dawn is a government of transparency, they're going to advertise for the posts. And this is exactly like what happens in Botswana here. They advertise, then the teachers apply. So the recruitment is going to be very, very transparent. That's where the PF was losing it. Just haphazardly, people are recruited. Some from one family, you find 10 or so. So if you are not connected, you were falling out. So with this approach, there is no slowness, because the process has been given 3 months. That is good. 3 months is good. So there's no delay. I've seen a lot of cry in that regard. Now, look about Mwelwa. Here's a government that comes and says, despite the burden we find ourselves in, we want to increase the student-teacher ratio. The 30,000 teachers that are going to be employed, they will reduce the teacher-student ratio in the classroom. At the moment, they found a situation where we have got 1 teacher to 45 to 60 children in class. To give each child attention is actually a nightmare. So, as the teachers are being employed, you can see this is 1 year. Then what happens next year? It means the quality of education is also increasing. The teachers are given feedback. I'm sure, Joanna, you agree with me. In South Africa, they've tried. The teachers will give students feedback when the class sizes go down.
Absolutely.
You're talking of a government that says, we're giving the civil servants 12% salary increase. This is unprecedented because the last 4% was experienced 2 years ago in Zambia. That's when the civil servants got a pay rise. 2 years ago, it was partly 4%. Now, this government is looking forward to enhancing free education. And this is really good. The cries that I have seen, the misinformation coming from Even the so-called big people who have been misleading the nation. I have seen the write-up from them. It doesn't make sense. So money has started actually, like for the schools. Money has started going into the schools. Because by 24th, when schools open, all schools will be functional. All schools will be functional. I'm pleased to inform the audience that at the moment, wards are processing even bursaries to the vulnerable secondary school and university students. They are processing. Right now, the process is on, and there's a participation of the local people. It's not done in Lusaka. No, it's done at the grassroots. So local people are doing it. You know, allow me just to take you back, for example, to the Kaunda era. I went to Form 1.
Okay.
I went to Form 1 in 1986. I don't know where you were, Mwelwa. When I went to Form 1,
not alive.
Secondary school. When
Of
I
just
went
the
to secondary school, in 1986, I went to Kenisha Secondary School in Chisakesi in Southern Province. And we had to fill some forms, screening the students so as to establish our affordability to pay for school fees. I was one of the lucky ones who went to Form 1 on Kaunda bursary. I was on the bursary at Kenisha Secondary School, 1986. I moved to St. Mark's, where I completed in 1990 my Form 5 on the bursary without paying any single coin. But the point I'm making here is that the process has to be rigorous. You have to screen so that really the deserving students are exempted from paying school fees. So due diligence is very, very important. Building financial systems is very, very important. I've given one example of Botswana, for example. This is a country that has got sound financial systems, but it did not start like a light switch. No, it's a process. It's a process. So the process, like a dance process, you know, growth comes like a dance. So all these things linked on is laying a foundation for systems. So people should not buy the propaganda that is coming from the bitter people who have destroyed the country's education system. No, no, no. We cannot allow that. We can't allow that. So these governments are unfounded. Yes, Joanna.
I think the government could do justice if they could also just manage expectations well, because a lot of people are expecting quite a lot because of the promises that have been made. So, Doctor, what advice would you give the now government on how they can better manage expectations on people wanting jobs now when it's not feasible?
Good. The people who want jobs now, that's a very good question. Remember when I started, I said the reforms will be bold. Jobs will come. We are talking of 120 days. The youth, I'm very happy that the president made a deliberate decision that the money, the 25.7, this money is going to the constituencies of Omubiana, where we feel job creation is going to be enhanced. Because what we should stop teaching our people is to go for white-collar jobs. We can't all be absorbed into white-collar jobs. So the youth are now earning for jobs. But what we need to do is train our people to be job creators. So we need the systems in constituencies, run workshops on entrepreneurship, empower these young people so that within, for example, their cooperatives, with the literacy, financial literacy courses that they can be given. If you empower 100 in a constituency, the 100 employ each one 10. You see, you keep on multiplying. You will see that it is possible that without going the route of everyone being employed by government on white-collar job, we can also do it within our constituencies by empowering our young people, our women who work so hard to change governments. Nothing can be taken away from the power of the woman. So, this money that is going to the constituencies, CDF, if only the New Dawn can work on very good modalities, because that's where the PF lost it. And that's why they are trying to say, no, the 324 million is not enough, is because they thought you just pump the whole money, for example, that goes towards education. It has to go gradually. So first quarter, you release money, and money that goes, for example, to the schools is directly into the school account. That is a better system. The school is accountable. If you listen to the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, Jesus Christ, it was a disaster. Disaster. Yeah. Very big disaster. You would wonder where the leadership was. Unaccounted money, where people are receiving payments without supplying a single item. Where on earth? Where on earth was Zambia heading?
In Zambia.
Only in Zambia.
Yeah,
only in Zambia. But thank God, at the right time, God intervenes. Thank God. This time
Joanne, you were about to say? Sorry, Joanne, you were about to say?
That the fact that parastatals are not having their financials audited or producing any form of accountable reports is unheard of, and it should not be tolerated. And I'm glad that our government is definitely bringing everyone to book.
Yeah. We've equally seen the grade 7 and grade 9 results being released in the last couple of days. I'm a little skeptical, but especially when I hear that all the grade 7s passed, but are we on an upward swing in education? Probably the reason I'm a little skeptical is because I've seen in recent days or years, couple of months, people are complaining that with the Zambian qualification, you cannot apply for certain scholarships. So for example, is it a Rhodes scholarship, I'm trying to remember correctly here, which insists that you need to have gotten a degree out of Zambia to then qualify for certain things. Or sometimes they're actually asking you for a master's for you to qualify for particular scholarships. Are we on an upward swing in our education, do you think, with the New Dawn government?
The New Dawn government is on a very good swing. Let me start by looking at our education system is a 7-5-4. 7 years of primary, 5 years of secondary, 4 years of university. So we are using that system. And let me just take you back to look at, for example, our just released grade 9, 7 and 9 results. We are saying the grade 7s, we have 100% pass rate. That happens in Botswana. It's not a miracle. It happens here. Bomobiana, does it happen in South Africa?
Well, it depends what the pass rate is, if you had to ask me. We have pass rates in some grades, so I wouldn't be able to comment because I think 30% pass rate is not good at all. So I think South Africa has a different case.
Primary, from primary to grade 8.
I'm not quite sure what the pass rate is.
Okay, I see.
But I don't think it was 100%.
Okay, so Mwelwa, the upswing here is that, if you don't get it right at the beginning, then whatever you do after is a problem. So we are saying, okay, grade 7, we have 100%. And grade 9, we have got 54.49%. Transition. We are talking of a transition from junior secondary to senior secondary. So, and I'm happy here to say the girls outnumber the boys. And allow me at this juncture to even acknowledge one girl, an orphan, for that matter, from Western Province. Mama Diana, you'll be happy to learn that we have got a girl, an orphan from Western Province, who attended all the grade 9s. This girl is called Namakau. She got 596 out of 600. You see, not from Rusaka, not from Ndola. No, we are talking of a child from a humble family, often raised up by an uncle. Congratulations, young girl. Wherever Namakau is, congratulations. There is power in the girl child. So we are happy for the girl, and I hope the New Dawn government is going to take advantage of this prevailing situation to support such young people. Give full scholarships. You know, UNESCO believes that education is a human right for everyone throughout life. That's what UNESCO stands for. And that access must be matched by quality. So when Dawn is employing 30,000 teachers, they are enhancing quality. That's why I believe that they are on the upswing. Employ 30,000, you want to enhance quality. You want to increase further, they have to work on the 45% that drop at junior school, for example. So when you look at the Agenda 2030, for example, which UNESCO has been, is driving through the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, we are actually working on a system where basic education can go up to Form 5. So that when we start these children from pre-primary, they are going to reach Form 5, grade 12, everyone. So UNESCO is driving that, Agenda 2030. And I do believe the New Dawn government is upstream with that. And you did ask also on the difficulties of bursaries. I think the system which the government is bringing, it will loosen a lot of things, especially where people are identified by their fellow, community men, if I use that word, the fellow people from the village. They know that family, Mwelwa's family. They know the needs of these families. So bursaries will be handy. We shall stop seeing a situation where it's only like you are saying, okay, you must have a degree in pure science in order for you to go to Russia. Even those in humanities, they have to benefit. It shouldn't be only the STEM subjects, for example, the science, technology, mathematics. So the base has to be opened, broad. And this is, I think, where this government has to head to, because a lot of people, of course, expect a lot, but like what the president always says, the road is not easy. It will hurt. Within the first 2 years, it will hurt. Did you know that Botswana was one of the poorest countries, especially as early as 1980s? Very, very poor country. Today, it's one of the rich countries. They had to pass through a rough patch before the diamonds came on the shore. It was very rough. Very rough. Dr. Kaunda used to supply maize right here to feed them. So the point I'm making is some of these things, to start them, They don't just come overnight, like switching a bulb light. No, you have to go through some systems, some reforms. Then from there, you start reaping the benefits.
Okay.
Hello, can you
Joanne, do
allow
you have
me
any
to
questions?
ask a question? Yes, I think it's a first for me to hear that the government wants to make sure that everyone goes up to grade 12, Form 5. I just have a question with regards to some children who are not academically gifted and maybe more practically inclined, your woodworkers, your bakers. So do you have any intel as to how the government is going to ensure that those children stay in school up to grade 12 and not maybe drop out at grade 7, grade 9? Do you have any intel on that?
I think what I would touch it is where you said, do they have systems on the children who can't progress? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. At the moment, I'll start from there. There's a department that is called DODE, Directorate on Distance Education. Directorate on Distance Education. And we also have in Rwanda a college, Zakonde, Zambia College of Distance Education. Now, we also have, I don't know if you know of the trade institutes that need to be revived, that the PF, I think, did not maximize. Now, I'm an expert here in Botswana on open schooling. I'm very happy you have touched where I'm exactly helping here. That's what I am doing here, to look at those children who are not able to progress in a formal setup. So we have got informal education. You know, you talk of the Department of Informal Education. So this is a department called Open Schooling, Open Schools. And we are working, for example, with partners like Zakonde in Russia. We're saying, can we intensify vocational education? Vocational, where we can put students like these 45% who can't go to grade 12. And the parents can't afford to send them to private school to continue. Then they absorbed into open schools. And this distance learning centers that we have, they give students hands-on jobs, skills. For example, carpentry, bricklaying. You know, some of them even do bookkeeping. They do office procedures. So this is what is, the structures are there, left by Kaunda, but we are just messed up by people who didn't take the priority. So I do believe, and I'm very positive, I have read the UPND manifesto. They are going to maximize the usefulness of these centers. Zakonde in Rwanda, who have a lot of these branches, open school centers within Zambia. So that these children who are given 20 kwachas, 50 kwachas to fight over Chibuku, they can't do that. We have to absorb them, give them skills. You know, colleagues, did you know that an uneducated nation is a danger to security of the nation? So when you have got a certain segment of the youth, for example, who are not empowered and not educated, I'm not talking of only the academic, no, even in skills, when they are not empowered, they are a danger to a country's security. Very, very dangerous. And when you look at, for example, the ratings of Zambia's educated people, it's not among the 10 countries in Africa. What does it say about where we are coming from? Where did we lose it? Where did we lose it? Countries like Botswana is number 6. Number 1, we have Equatorial Guinea. Number 10, we have Tunisia. Where did we lose it? Why is Zambia? Why can't it be the top 10 most educated people? It's the systems that were broken. So through
I think we've lost Dr. Tommie there for a bit. I hope he connects as soon as. But really interesting. For Joanne, so what's the situation in South Africa, especially in regards to e-learning at the moment, looking at the COVID disruptions that we keep getting on and off?
Yeah, we've actually, the COVID situation has definitely showed the inequalities that exist all around the world, and South Africa is no exception. You do find, the private schools are in a better footing to be able to provide e-learning facilities and e-learning lessons, interactive lessons with their students. And then you find, the other schools that are not so privileged have struggled quite a bit. You look at children who live in the rural areas who don't have access to internet. We also have that challenge here as well. But I think going forward, a lot of lessons have been learned. And I think there's a huge drive to sort of like complement the current way of teaching with online learning, because I think we've learned quite a lot, and we can't afford to have students falling behind because they cannot access the formal type of learning and they don't have online learning capabilities. What of in Zambia? What has been happening on your side, Mwelwa, with children?
I think it's quite tragic. I think it was quite tragic. I felt really at pains would probably be the term, because I could see the stark difference, like you said, the inequalities where you found children who were going to private schools were on top of their e-learning. Children were sat in their homes and their parents were able to get bundles. Whereas for children who were going to the government schools, worse off, you're going to a community school, they are just in the compounds. We had so many early pregnancies, so many children involved in vices that we wouldn't want, because they were not able to be sat somewhere, even within the home environment, to learn. So I'm looking forward to something that might solve that. I hope the New Dawn government comes up with something. At one point, I was actually admiring the Chinese system that has all these microphones everywhere, and the propaganda is delivered every morning. And I was hoping, I think we need something like that where we can deliver children's education material during the day. Maybe you have a couple of hours to say, this is for grade 1, this is for grade 2s, so that they're all getting it. They might not be able to see a screen in front of them, but they can get some form of lessons. I don't know how it could be done. So I think it was quite bad.
In primary school, Lusaka girls, we actually had quite a few recording sessions where we would record sessions in English and maths, and that would be played on radio in rural areas. So I think that's something that we can look at. We can start off there, but I think we definitely need to make huge strides with regards to access to the internet. I mean, I think about the little girl in Simundwe, that's a little village where my grandparents come from, who doesn't have access to a phone, doesn't have access to a computer. What happens to those children? Do we just leave them, or do we just try and improve the way that we do the things that we do? I mean, I hear there's the satellite that the Ministry of Science and Technology is looking into investing. How much are rural areas going to really benefit from that? That is the big question.
That is the big question, because I'm looking at as near Lusaka as Chinyunyu, where electricity isn't available. And it's mind-boggling, because when I look at the distance between Lusaka and Chinyunyu, it's about an hour and a half to drive. And I don't quite understand how they don't have electricity in this day and age. But I can imagine that you're looking at a distance that's far off, like you're saying, in a village, whereas I'm looking at a closer place, which is an hour and a half from Lusaka, the capital city, and there are places that do not have electricity. So we have a lot of inequalities in places, and I think these are some of the things that the New Dawn government really needs to look at, because I'm foreseeing a case where, yes, we can employ all these teachers and they will satisfy the ratio, but we might still struggle to get those children, especially when you have COVID and getting them at that end. But I'd equally be interested to also know, like in South Africa, I know a lot of times we see this in South Africa where there are a lot of families still saying, well, I'm the first person to get to metric, which is your grade 12. What is the government there doing to stop or to reduce this ever happening, or to improve the rates at which children go through till grade 12?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, we do have this issue in some demographics where the pass rate is not really that good. 30% is the pass rate in high school, but unfortunately that will not get you to varsity. You need 50% and above, or in some cases, if it's higher grade, that's a more advanced subject, at least 40%. So I think the government is trying by all means to really improve things, but from the talks that are going on, it seems as though 30% will still be the benchmark as to whether you pass metric or not. But obviously that's obviously a huge problem, because you have a 30% pass rate, but universities are looking for 50%. So you have this huge gap of young people who don't qualify to go to varsity. But I know that there are some technical schools, they're called technicons, where if you don't have the required pass rate, you could probably go to a college and you could study something there, and you could get a certificate or a diploma. The NAFSIS program is the bursary program here. So I know that's ongoing. Almost every single citizen who has the required pass rate can apply for that and be able to study further. So there's and there's loan schemes as well with the banks. So you're able to apply for a loan, you can go and study further. I think it's just a matter of just driving the message to say, if you haven't gotten the right grades, don't give up. There's ways and means that you could still apply and get into an institution. I see we have Dr. Tommie back.
Yeah.
Yes,
Welcome
I'm
back,
back.
Dr.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My laptop, I had to restart it. It just froze. You know.
All right. No worries.
Is always like
technology.
That. But thank God we are back.
So I think I'll start on that point. You're an expert on e-learning. So what do you think, or how should the Zambian government solve our problem, especially when we have these outages, like when we have the COVID outages and students need to learn from home? What can they do to make sure that every child, including the child in the far-off areas like, Chidobe Island, gets an education whilst there's a COVID stoppage in their school year?
That's a very brilliant question. Thank you very much. Systems, like I said earlier on, they are there in Zambia. It's just a matter of rebooting, enhancing them. So we have e-learning structures in schools. I'll give you one example of one teacher who is teaching in the Butondo Secondary School in Zambia, called Mishek Mutuzana. This young man is doing a lot of e-learning for the secondary school.
That's in Mwelwa?
Yes. I think Butondo is in Mwelwa. Yeah, there's a guy there called Mishek Mutuzana. I have met him in different interventions, like the International Education and Resource Network, called the IN. He's a country representative for Zambia. So the environment is enabling. What this government needs to do is to tap, for example, on solar system. In education, we have gadgets like there's one gadget called the Aptas. Aptas can be used in rural areas where there's no electricity as a backup, where children, you can download the teaching and learning resources on the server. Then you connect, they're computers. In Shangombo there, you can have internet in Shangombo. So the systems are there. So if the government can come up and just enhance, the systems are there already. There's a program in Zambia which is called Notes Master, not monitored in UK. And Zambia is using that to connect. We are developing, for example, here in Botswana, platforms through Moodle, so that countries who belong to the Commonwealth of Learning can just go and use. We are using a license called OER, Creative Commons license. Very open. OER is open. People can use it. You share alike so long you attribute. So going forward, the future of teaching and learning is going to be remote. We cannot shy away from the fact it is here on the table. And one indicator that shows that this government is also looking ahead, where artificial intelligence will determine how things are done. Working, most of us work from home, is through the creation of, for example, the green economy. The Ministry of Green Economy, what is it all about? This is what they will be doing to complement what is happening with education. So, apart if electrification of rural areas is taking long, then we have to tap into the free energy, the solar system. Solar system is very good when it comes to enhancing teaching and learning. You know, there's a difference between an online repository and an e-learning platform. I have seen many schools, as I travel around the world, calling the online repository as e-learning. No, the e-learning platform, the learning management system itself, it has to be interactive. So with the employing of so many teachers, the new Dawn government is planning to build the schools, 120 schools that will be built. I can just encourage this CDF to build like the smart schools, schools that can be used as models for e-learning, and not leaving the open schools where they can use more of the facilities. For example, the Commonwealth of Learning has been trying in Zambia, even training, you know, staff and teachers through Zakonde, DODE, the Directorate of Distance Education. A lot has been invested. The question that we have to ask ourselves, are we really investing properly? Have we invested properly? It was very difficult to do that. That's why when crybabies will come now because they are bitter, they are jealousy. You know, the social media is so bad in Zambia. We have to help people to unlearn, you know, this type of just brushing whatever the new Dawn is doing without really proper understanding the direction. You know, it's just condemning. That's not the way to get a country out of the situation that Zambia found itself. We need to get hands together. Give New Dawn a chance. Give them a chance. Already we can see PF struggled. How many years did they struggle to get the IMF deal? Today they go to, someone goes to IMF representative in Zambia. What? To
ask about the details.
A lot of petition. You are petitioning something you failed to get in the past years. Come on. That's why the president is saying,
we'll go to Joanne. Joanne, do you have a question?
Thank you. Actually, so I think access to electricity is quite a huge challenge in some areas as well. And being able to use the current systems that are existing. My question is, how do we then upskill our educators, our teachers who might not be computer literate? How do we upskill them to a level where they can begin to champion computer usage and internet usage in schools and not be averse to perhaps artificial intelligence taking over their jobs in the future? How can we do that?
That's a very good question, because that's the reality on the ground. You have asked a question of what is really the reality on the ground. Most of our educators are not even up to the game like the learners that they are leading. The learners are more advanced. So, like in Botswana here, I'm advocating for more and more professional development of the teachers. The government the communities must hold workshops. Workshops, we call them professional development workshops. You upskill the learners. Like this young man I told you from Obutondo Secondary School, he actually taught himself most of the stuff. Through attending workshops, he has learned a lot. So we have to do a lot of supporting the teachers, run workshops. We can do that even remotely. Through Zoom, we do run workshops in South Africa, in Botswana, in the UK, Mwelwa, in Norway. You find workshops are running remotely. So all we need is, let's put these things to systems. In business, we say systems approach. All what we need is, can we put systems to work? Can we enhance what we have and improve the welfare of the teacher? Yeah, they were even laughing at me when I was advocating for phones to be allowed in the schools because teaching, learning has gone digital. So if students, for example, they are expected to learn using gadgets, then you say, no. The policy of 1964 stands. Phones are not allowed in school. It's because we have not provided what the students can find in these phones. So when the content is created, I'm challenging the educators around Zambia. Let's create content. When we create content, for example, on Moodle, then the students will be busy. At the moment, they cannot because there's nothing to occupy them. It's just formalities. So we have got organizations that can give tablets. For example, I don't know if you have heard of the 1 million pieces that Rwanda did. 1 million pieces. Give to the schools. Each school, those that don't have electricity, these tablets are working on solar. Some on batteries. I've told you of a facility called Aptas. We can connect Zambia from Kaputa to Katete, Livingston, network also the teachers, so that they also start sharing common practices. Free education should not be diluted, but should provide quality education. We cannot just be excited of there is free education. It must be accountable education. So we need.
I'm going to jab in right there because I think you said something quite cardinal where you said, just because it's free doesn't need to be substandard. I have a bit of a problem with our secondary school education because I think like it's very outdated. I mean, the same thing that my father learned is the same thing I learned. And I'm thinking by the time my children get into school, it will be the same thing they'll be learning. Are you happy with the curriculum in our schools, or do we need an upheaval of the curriculums as well to match with the international standards? So many of our parents today are sending their children out. I know of many families that are sending their children secondary school education, especially into countries like Zimbabwe, into Botswana, because we're wanting better education. And we're saying that the curriculum here in Zambia isn't good. So are you happy with the curriculum in our schools?
No.
Especially secondary school education.
No, I'm not happy. And I'm very happy you brought that question. What we need, you have mentioned people sending their children to South Africa, to Zimbabwe. Why? They are following the curriculum. There is what we call in education is outcome-based education. We must change the Zambian curriculum to be skilled-oriented, outcome-based. We should stop more of the knowledge teaching. It should be skill-based. So that by the, in Zimbabwe, a grade 2 school leaver is able to open a radio, assemble it. Assemble a radio, open a fridge, fix air cons. Is able to do that. But how did they get there? It's because of the curriculum. We need outcome-based. This is where we can get it right. We don't need to teach our students how many bones are in the head of a fish. We don't need this type of teaching, which is objective based. By the end of this lesson, students should be able to define the capital city of Zambia, to identify the capital city of Zambia. You need to change.
The parts of an insect, yeah.
Yeah, we need to change to go outcome based, where we are saying, by the end of this learning, program, students will be able to, they will be doing something. So it's it's very expensive. I know outcome-based education is expensive because you have to monitor each student. You have to develop these skills. You have to bring subjects. In secondary school, students learning like plumbing, carpentry, hotel and tourism, agriculture. They have to learn some of the things starting from secondary school. So normally governments will say resources, limited resources. But we have seen that it's doable. If it's happening in some countries, then it's doable. We can get our priorities right. I'm going to recommend very, very seriously Zambia to really look at the secondary education curriculum and go outcome-based curriculum. You'll find
I think you mentioned outcomes, and I'm looking at, you had previously said you were so happy that more girls had cleared the exams in grade 8 or grade 9. And I think this is one little funny push that I think, I'm a feminist, but I equally think that sometimes we're overly heavy-handed when we push for females and rather than equality. And I'm looking at the outcomes. Do you think that our emphasis on girl child education is leaving the boys behind because we're looking at the outcomes? So if we're having more girls, are we equal? Because we're fighting for equality at the same time and leaving the boys behind eventually. As of now, are we on the right trajectory when we emphasize girl child rather than outcome, where things are equal, where we have an equality-based education for both the girls and the boys?
Okay. The reason why gender mainstreaming is a subject in education is because of, a child goes through a lot of difficulties to complete the school. So they need support. So gender mainstreaming, where you have some interventions that are preventing girls from getting pregnant in grade 9. The boy can continue, but not a girl. So this is not suggesting inequality, no. But we are saying, when we say, can we do gender mainstreaming by bringing programs that are supporting the child? It's because of the difficulties you, our mothers, Mwelwa, go through. In the morning, you have to cook while the boy is studying. At home, you cook, the boy is studying, watching television. A lot is against the girl child than the boy child. So, of course, facilities are given equally, but I still believe we need to support the girl child because there is a lot which they face compared to the boy child. So as we go for outcome-based education, they are at par. And when we talk of career choices or subject combination in the schools, we should not have a situation where we say technical drawing is only done by the girl, by the boys. No. Let the girls go for technical drawing. I don't know if you saw that woman from Livingston who is making sofas, furniture.
Yeah.
So, that is a woman. So what does it say? It means we can empower the girl child. And the girl child can make furniture just like the boy can do. So we need to understand this. I've heard some men also crying that, no, there's too much focus and concentration on the girl child. No, we are saying the girl child has more odds against the boy child. So we need gender mainstreaming as well. But at the same time, we need to allow these subjects not to be gender-based. I have a nephew who is a nurse, and family was laughing at him to say, "How come a nurse? Because he's a boy." You see? So we shouldn't have that where certain occupations are tailored towards male or female. I would love to see more of our girls being computer engineers, pilots. We have Zambian Airways opening. We need women pilots.
Yeah, absolutely.
We need who can do everything.
Yeah. Well, as we edge towards the end of our program, I'll ask Wom Kelevai if you have any question or comment that you would like to share with us. And welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, my sister, Kimanzibwani. Good evening, Doctor. Good evening, Womuviana Muchwani Mami. How about you? Tobias Muchwani. Anyway, thank you so much. And I'm glad that the name Namakau came out very strongly. And that goes to show Kumina Botomi that don't underestimate a girl child from the Western Province. I'm just kidding.
Absolutely.
That's a joke. I'm so glad that you brought this topic. It is important that you guys discussed on the education. This is the area that many Zambians try to avoid and would rather go and talk about politics and argue with Venelu Sambo. They're just busy ranting where there's nothing to rant about when they know that they created these things for themselves. So we are so tired of them, and this is where we have to put them in a place where they belong. When Ruvinda comes on the show, ask him these questions to say, what have you done? What have you done? What did you do to a girl child in school? What have you done when it came to education? They have failed completely, lamentably. And here is the new government that is trying to bring education for all and free education. And we hear a lot of sentiments that are so negative that are trying to negate the person who is trying to bring sanity and development in a country. To me, I find that it's a witchcraft thought. PF Boluwinda, you have a witchcraft line of thought, and you need to go somewhere away from Zambia where we can come in and talk about Tommie Mwelwa ideas of how do we bring in and negate these, mostly the customary laws, the customary that negates a girl child and put her in a very, very awkward situation. So Tommie, I'm so glad that you brought out this aspect where a girl child has to be educated. Empower a girl child, I promise you. Empower a girl child, I promise you, this country or any country in Africa, when you empower a woman, you are going to receive a very well-educated nation. But here we are. Why do you think Zambia is not on the line, on the map, where the education that you were talking about, to say, is it Rwanda is number 6? Where is Zambia? Why do you think that is? Miambo. Miambo has killed us. Miambo has negated a girl child and to bring her to disadvantage her. And today, when we have people like Mwelwa, Vomuviana, talking so articulative and more better than people with PhDs, to me, it gives me wings that I can fly and say, Ndondo Woma. I can even say, thank you so much. God is listening to our cry, because women have been disadvantaged for so many years. So I'm so happy that you guys, you brought out this education aspect, which is very important than PF crying over spilled beans. UPND is there to welcome us, to bring education, and let us now fuse in. this technology, even though we understand technology comes with its own negativities, but let us utilize and evolve with time, because we know that it's going to be beneficial to our mother Zambia. Itumes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Mr. Tobias Mtale. Or has he left his gadget somewhere?
Yeah.
I'll go to Joanne. Any last remarks or any last questions?
Oh yes, I think I thoroughly enjoyed today's program. I'm quite passionate about education. I think just one last question for Dr. Tommie. I know we've touched a lot on primary and secondary education. Now, when it comes to tertiary education, I know in South Africa, for instance, we have this huge conversation about how tertiary is mostly theory-based and not very practical. My question or challenge to you, Dr. Tommie, is when do you think, say, corporate sector will be able to marry tertiary institutions where they can bring the practical element that these tertiary graduates need when they're looking for jobs? Because I think a lot of graduates are lacking in experience. You know, they've just learned a whole lot of theory. They don't have the skills. When do you think we can have that combination of practical experience coming into the tertiary institution space?
Excellent. You know, when I talked of outcome-based education, that is the purpose. That is the purpose. Starting from secondary school, our girls and boys who have attachments, internship, job shadowing with the corporate sector. So much that if we can, first we change our secondary education. As we go to colleges and university, you know, you encounter, we used to have this industrial attachment more pronounced, so that we stop producing, we call them half-baked graduates. You produce hands-on, people who are able to do something. If he's an accountant, he has graduated, Bachelor of Accountants. The young man or young lady is able to prepare the books of accounts from practical. So outcome-based education, it filters into tertiary. If done well at secondary, it has influence on tertiary. Then you find that practical skills, there's no disjointment. At the moment, you find the industry separate from academic. There is a gap. It's because of, I don't want to blame one colonial master, the type of curriculum that was dictated on the people of Zambia. We need to have our own. A curriculum should be driven by culture. What we need is Zambians. What can work for us? It doesn't mean what works in country A and work in country B. Education doesn't go that way. Education is tailor-made to the needs of the society. What works for Botswana? If you take it as it is and say, in Zambia, can you do it right away? Then you find in Zambia, you have got the likes of these crying babies who don't know the value of education, who don't know the value of planning, who don't know the value of performance management systems, for example. We need to have everything to be, you know, if we are talking of changing education, it should be result-based also. We need some result-based where there's accountability. You know, it should be busy producing something, you know. So we can have industry absorbing our university students, taking a lot of practicals. Well, you know, in Norway, I have been to Norway. I have seen the educational system. These are countries that have moved far from us, 50 years ahead of us. Yeah, the student is taking a few subjects. Why? Because of the practical aspect. Practical aspect that the student has to go through. So,
all right. Thank you so much for that.
New Dawn, I'm sure New Dawn has proved that their interested in quality education, if they don't go what we are suggesting, believe me, they will be producing thugs. And if you have a country that is not well educated, empowered, it's a danger to development. It's a danger.
Yeah.
I heard someone
All right.
today, one president of a small party, saying that if HH has failed, he should give him the baton. What type of an insult is that? What type of an insult are these opposition political parties doing to the great country Zambia?
I think their campaign they are campaign hungry at the moment with I think the Kabwata seat has hyped up every political.
If the people of Kabwata are listening, don't be duped. Don't be cheated. Don't be cheated. Give New Dawn more legislators who are going to serve you better.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Tobias Mtale.
How long did Luvinda serve Kabwata?
Hello.
Right.
Hello, Kelly.
I'll stop you there and give a chance to Mr. Tobias. Yes, Mr. Tobias.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Do you have any comment or question?
Yes. Hello, Bakwetu family, and hello, Dr. Hamaluba. What a wonderful topic you have today. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can get you.
Yes, I'm just saying that you have a wonderful topic today. It is a very important topic because without education, we can't go anywhere as a country. We need to educate our population because it is quite disheartening when a country like Zambia, which was so progressive in the 60s, in terms of economic development as well as education, is now said to be one of those countries that are nowhere in terms of education. So I think the idea of free education is very much welcome, whereby everybody at least should have a grade 12. Already just by having a grade 12, that is going to put Zambia somewhere on the map. Because what is currently happening now, especially if you go in the rural areas, not very many people are educated in the rural areas. And when people have less education, it also makes them not to do things very well. For example, a mother who's got a child and doesn't understand nutrition because she hasn't been to grade 7, she hasn't been to grade 12, she hasn't even maybe been to tertiary education, she's not going to look after that child well. So if you hear results that they are 100% grade 7, at least we have hope that we are going to be having 100% pass maybe in grade 12. So I think the fact that the UPND has brought up free education, that is something very commendable, which we should all support. And if those politicians who are coming to say, no, the UPND are not doing something good, I think we must stop them, because education is very important. It's key to any development. So we really commend the UPND for such a step they have taken. Also, the welfare of teachers. I think teachers, most of them, they bring us to grade 12, they bring us to university, but most of them, they live in deplorable conditions. So we need to make sure that we support our teachers. How can we support them? I think increase in salaries, as HH is already doing, and the UPND government, that is something good, by increasing their income so that they can perform better when they come to their classes. things you have spoken about. Yeah, you have spoken about things like technology. That is very important also. I think we need to bring technology, especially to rural areas, and to train teachers that they are computer savvy, that they are technology savvy. They are able to teach using technology. I think we all cannot avoid ICT now. It is part of our life. People have gadgets. So how can the government help all schools to be on internet, to have computers so that the learners can learn? It's such a wonderful topic. I love it.
All right, thank you so much. And I think
let me just
Dr. Tommie,
1 second.
yes.
Just 1 second on the housing. You know, there's a program which the New Dawn government is actually implementing, rent to buy. So most of our civil servants will be renting these houses to buy. So there shouldn't be any panic on housing, the welfare of the teachers. The teachers will participate in this program also of renting to buy. It's very doable, it's very practical. Here in Botswana, we call it Botswana Housing Corporation. So these are things that are very practical and it can be done. Don't listen from PF when they tell you that where will they get the money. It's doable and it can be done with proper planning. Rent to buy a house, civil servants, is on the way.
All right. Thank you so much. As we come to the end, I'll just ask you probably in summary, what do you think the New Dawn needs to further urgently address in the education system?
They need
Is there anything that they haven't yet touched on?
Yeah, I think I did mention briefly on the management. We need the proper management of schools. They have to do a lot of support for school managers. There is, I think, unsatisfactory performance because of the partisan alignment which was brought in by the outgoing regime. So professionalism has to come back into the schools. And on the poor working conditions of the teachers, the housing, I've already mentioned things like rent to buy a house will actually help most of our teachers with the average salaries. We are talking of class sizes, for example. When you employ 30 more thousand and every year, the class sizes will be limited. So very few students in a class being handled by one teacher. Then it's healthy for a teacher does not need to mark 60. Imagine if a teacher has 5 classes by 60 students. When does the teacher sleep and mark? So with more teachers employed, we are talking of the teacher not being constrained too much. That's very, very unhealthy for a teacher. And let the government explore also gadgets, like I have said, 1 million pieces for Africa. There are a lot of organizations that can help us to enhance tablets in our schools, remote schools. I'm talking of one Makau Kobulozekakwa. You know, they can have a tablet. In southern province, in my village, Mangani, Monze West, a child there should be in a position to use a tablet for teaching and learning. And Mwelwa, let me mention that there's a lot of propaganda in Zambia social media. Please, these liars have got a lot of money, all stolen money, which they are using, going to television stations, buying airtime. You know, they are busy on the TV because they have the money. They stole the money. So they have the money, and they are, when you see them more on TV, what are they defending? Corruption. Corruption is an ugly head. The moment you want to uproot it, they will come like wolves on you. That's why you see the president is attacked day in, day out. When happened to Taonipe, he can't sleep. Why? Because of the thieves. So let's all stand up. The 2.8, we are taking of 18 million Zambians. 18 million, 2.8, okay, but the 18 million, we remove 2.8. Where are the others? What are you doing? Support the good programs. We are out in the diaspora, but we left our relatives there. That's why we are saying Bakwetu is here to better the conditions, to better situations. Bakwetu fought hard to remove the regime. They fought hard. We give kudos to Dr. Elias Musha because this platform, you were fighting tooth and nail. When it was not desirable to do so, it was not fashionable, but some people stood hard to hold the bull by its horns. Where is Lungu today? He has been put where he belongs. But these people are not asleep. They are not asleep because they know what they have taken. I listened to the Public Accounts Committee. What happens there is a disaster.
Absolutely,
It's filthy. I don't know the right word to use. How can someone supply? We are owing, you saw the dates I told you, the 46.9 billion kwacha. It's on construction. Imagine where things were inflated ×3. Then they want the suppliers to be paid. I heard Voluvinda, I'll pay the supplier. How do you pay the money? We have to clean first. Let's see. How can you inflate things like that? Yeah, you can. So propaganda, there's a lot of propaganda. Don't listen to them. Don't listen. They are lying. They are lying. Support New Dawn. HH means well for Zambia. This is the son of Africa, where IMF said, we can listen. I think we have business with you. We have tried and failed. 7 years trying to get the IMF bailout. But with him, because of a credible record and the seriousness of someone who wants to change the country, then the IMF said, no, I think this is a good man to change the lives of the Zambian people. Yeah. Then 1.4 billion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your input, and thank you so much for some of the insights. I think there's a lot of insights we are yet to learn and even hear of. We need a lot more stringent, like you said, programs and systems in place. We need a lot more improvement in our teachers, the quality of teachers that we have, and the quality of education that we have. And I think by having more students in our government schools, this is a trajectory we're heading towards. So thank you so much for coming on the show, and just saying good night and goodbye to everyone within Zambia, within the UK. I think I don't know, it's afternoon or morning. So have a good day and have a good night. And thank you, viewers.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we talk in the background?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I think we can also tell our people to send the stars. We exist because of their stars. Very, very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please send in your stars. I think, like Dr. Tommie has said, thanks for that good reminder. Send in your stars and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.